Hello fellow improvisers, this is Greg here. It is late Tuesday evening and I was hoping that I'd have some stuff to send to you guys today so you could start working on it for next week. As it turns out, I've hit some technical difficulties and such things like that have slowed me down a bit, but I wanted to make you a little preview and show you some of the stuff that I've been working on. I'm kind of shifting to a slightly more web-based delivery of the materials. So I wanted to give you a preview of that and show you some things that you could actually start working on now, even before I've finished. So I'm going to kind of disappear here because I know the lighting's not too good anyway, I don't think. And I'm just going to show you this. I have this web page up, which is the latest one I've been working on for you guys to use for your practice. So it's not finished yet, there's still a lot more to add to it, but I want to show you what I've got so far. So this is kind of continuing from where we left off last time. We're going to be working on lines, a lot of lines, and actually I'm going to have some tunes for you to play that use the chord progressions that we're going to be working on, which for this week is going to be focusing in on tonic and dominant, in particular the 5-to-1 progression. 5-to-1. Okay, so last time we talked about some lines. I actually was zeroing in on one specific line last time, which was the line that resolves into the third of the chord that we're leading into. In this case, it's the 1 chord. So we did kind of a variation on line, what's shown here is line 2. 4, 3, but we did 5, 4, 3 because the 5 substituted for the 4 temporarily, and you'll see what that means when we get later on down the page. But there's actually more than just that line. There's actually 4 main lines plus a fundamental bass in any chord progression. Just briefly, every chord has potentially 4 different notes. The chords that are often played are called triads, and they're made of 3 different notes. But that tension note that we talked about that leads into the following chord is a potential 4th chord tone. So here's the 5 lines, and you can practice these in either of the scale positions that we've gone over. So on a 5-to-1 progression, we're going to have, I'm not going to get into too much theory right now, but we're going to have these lines. One is going to be 5, 5, so that's the common tone line. It stays the same. That's the tone that stays the same between the 2 chords. 5, 5. The next line, which I'm calling line 2, is 4, 3. And you can, there's a tension between the 5 and the 4 because they're next to each other, and they're like kind of competing for sonic space. But the 5, 5 is very stable because it's part of the, it's the 5th of the 1 chord and the root of the, it's the root of this chord and the 5th of this chord. It's a very stable note. It's not going to get pushed around. So this 4 gets pushed down to 3, and that's what gives this, creates this tension and resolution. The next line is 2, 1, and the last one is 7, 1. So those are your 4 main, they're called voice leading lines. We just call them lines for short. Those are your 4 main lines, and then the fundamental bass, 5, 1, is your bass, is the roots of each chord. We're not going to be using the fundamental bass too much in our lines, but I just put it on here for your information. It's good to know for creating bass lines. It's root to root. So you can see it's duplicating some of the other notes that are in the two chords. We already have a 5 up here. We already have a couple ones down here. The reason we have besides the fundamental bass, the reason we have 2 1s in this one chord, tonic chord, is because there's no tension note, because this is a chord of rest. We're doing chord of motion, chord of rest, 5 resolving to 1. If the 1 was going to go somewhere else, like back to the 5, we might put one of the tension notes in instead of one of these scale degree 1s right here. But don't worry about that for right now. So if we were to put all of these lines in succession in one voice could mean one guitar or one instrument, but it's called a voice, then we would have this 5 5 4 3 2 1 7 1, and you can play that on your instruments in either of the scale shapes that we've learned. And then what we're going to do in class is we're going to come down here and put there's 4 of us, so we're each going to play that in like a round, kind of like, you know, row 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 your boat or something. And so everyone starts at a different time, but they're all playing the same thing, and by the time the 4th person enters, we've got the full chord here with all 4 voices. So it's going to be 5 5, and then when this voice goes to 4, the voice number 2 starts at 5 5, and then when he gets to 4, then the voice number 3 starts at 5 5, and you see how it goes. All right, so practice that so that we can play this canon in class. That'll be fun. Okay, then the next thing you can do with your lines is you can play them with rhythmic variations. And on this page I'm going to have audio loops of guitar chords, backing tracks, like I did in the last page, at our last session, that you can play to. And some of them are going to be in 4/4, some of them are going to be in 6/8. And these are rhythmic variations that you can practice, and I think it's really important to practice with a strong, solid, confident rhythm, because you want to get the feeling of when one chord is going to resolve to the next, so you know when to resolve your lines, and it helps you know intuitively where you are in the music as you're improvising. So it starts off simple. You don't really have to worry too much about these H's and Q's and E's. They're just, H means half note, W means whole note, Q means quarter note, E means eighth note. But it doesn't even matter, because you can just look down on the counting column and see when you have to play each note. So if we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, you're going to play this half note on 1, and you're going to play this next note on 3. So like if I was to snap my fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4. So say I did this top variation with line number 1, 5. Okay, so it'd be like this: 3, 4, 5, 5, 5. Okay, if I did that same one with line 2, it would be 4, 4, 3. Okay, whole note lasts for the whole measure. Let me pick out another one just for an example. I'm going to use line 3, which is 2, 1. So I'm going to do variation 3 rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, you see how it works? You can figure out the rest on your own. This variation 5 is a little syncopated. It's got things coming in on the ands, so it gets a little more complex as it goes down. I'll let you work on that, see how you do with it. Okay, now here's some rhythmic variations in 6/8. Some of the other loops that I'm going to put on here are going to be in 6/8, which is a sort of a 3 feel. So 6/8 it comes in groups of 3, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the main beats are on 1 and 4. So this would be variation 1 is, I'm going to count 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5, 5, 5. Okay, that's variation 1. Let's choose another line. How about line 4, 7 to 1. 7, 1. Okay, so variation 3 would be, let's see, 7, 7, 7, 7. Let's see, 7, 7, 7, 7. It's hard to say 7 that fast. Let me choose a different line. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1. Okay, that was variation 3. You get the idea of that. I won't spend too much time on this. I'm going to cruise through these. You can practice all of these lines with these different rhythmic variations. That'll be great. Now, when we get down to the next part of the page, we're starting to get to the transformations that these lines can go through, just some of them that make them more varied and more interesting. Okay, the first thing is substitutions, and I'm going to concentrate mostly on lines 2 and 4. In fact, only on lines 2 and 4 for this part. Let me just go back up here and say something about these lines. Line 2, what I'm calling line 2, and line 4 are where most of the action is. Those are the notes that have a fair degree of tension. This one has the most tension. 4, 3. That's what we call the tension note, resolving to the third of the following chord. The 7, 1 has a fair degree of tension, but not quite as much. The other two lines, line 1 and 3, are the lines that are made of the roots and fifths of the chord. They're kind of like structural notes that don't have a lot of tension. They're very solid, but they're actually very free to go pretty much anywhere they want. The reason that this 5 stays on 5 is just because it's so convenient. But the 5 is free of tension, so it can really, it's not being pushed anywhere. It can go anywhere it wants. So that means it can substitute for one of the other lines. And often that happens when composers or improvisers or whoever choose, for whatever artistic reasons, not to have this tension note in, this 4. They sometimes put the 5 in instead, or sometimes they put the 5 in and then the 4. So it creates a temporary substitution. The same thing can be done for the 7 by either the 2 or the 5. And the 2 can also substitute for the 4 and go to 3. So here we have substitutions. So you can practice those. The bold numbers represent the true chord tones, and the non-bold represent the notes that are the lines that are substituting temporarily for them, or in this case permanently. Right here you see there's no 4 whatsoever. So so 5, 4, 3, that would be that one, and then we could reverse the order and play the true note first. 4, 5, 3. So the 4 still goes down to the 3, but it takes a little detour here. 4, 5, 3. The 5 temporarily substitutes for this 4. And then here, 5, 3, it just goes, whizzes right past the 4 and never even hits it. It goes right to the 3. And here, 2, 4, 3, reverse the order, 4, 2, 3, etc., etc. You get the idea. Same thing with line 4. Okay, so that's substitution. You can play through those and hear those, see what they sound like. This next thing is we have combined lines. So sometimes within the same voice you're going to be combining more than one line together within the same voice, and that's you improvising. That's your voice. You're playing one note at a time. So so here we have two lines combined. So you have the 4, which is going to resolve to the 3, but you also have the 5, which is going to resolve to the 5. So you kind of bounce between the two lines there. 4, 5, 3, 5. And we're going to go down. So the first time we're combining this is line 1, which is the 5, 5, is going to stay constant throughout this whole row, but every time we move to a new 5-1 progression, we're going to be changing which other line 1 is combining with. So we got 4, 5, 3, 5, 2, 5, 1, 5. And then I'm repeating that one because I want it to come out in equal 4 measures chunks there. So 4, 5, 3, 5, 2, 5, 1, 5, 2, 5, 1, 5, 7, 5, 1. And I don't go back to the 5 at the end because I want the 1 to sound more final. Okay, so that brings up to mind something that I want to mention to you, is that you notice how I'm singing these. That means I can hear what they're supposed to sound like just by looking at these numbers. That would be a great thing for you guys to practice. I mean, it would really open up your ears tremendously, because if you can start hearing what these lines are supposed to sound like, and then you relate them to what's on your fretboard, you can see you know, the possibilities how that's going to increase your musical abilities and skills and command. So I would recommend you practicing that just like I'm doing right now. So that was one example, and the other rows here are combinations of line 2 with different lines. Now line 1 stayed on the 5, 5, 5 all the way through, but that's not going to always happen with these other lines, like 5, 4, 5, 3, 2, 4, 1, 3, 2, 4, 1, 3, 7, 4, 3, 1. It's bouncing around a little bit more, not always going back to one note like with line 1. Okay, and down here on the bottom row we have all 4 lines combined, which is going to give you what we call a tetrad, a 4-note chord. You're playing every note of the chord. 5, 4, 2, 7, 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 5, 3, 1, 5, 5, 4, 2, 7, 1, 3, 5, 1, 7, 2, 5, 4, 3, 5, 1. Okay, so practice those if you have the time. By the way, you know, the most important thing here is if you're looking for, yeah, I know this is a lot to throw at you, so if you're looking to you know, wanting to know what the most important or what to really focus on, just the basic lines, you know, are great to get in your ear. So, and the rhythmic variations possibly. So, you know, those would be the things to start with and to focus on, and then if you feel comfortable with those, you can go on to some of this other stuff. Now this is a tune that uses just a 5-to-1 progression. It has a pickup that leads into the first 5. The underlined 5s are to make sure you know that 5 is a low 5 below the 1, and the same thing with the 7. So 5 1 7 1 2 3 4 5 5 4 5 5 4 5 5 4 5 6 5 4 5 3 5 1 7 1 2 3 4 5 5 4 5 5 4 5 5 4 3 4 2 3 1. I think I got that kind of right. So the counting, this is an 8-beat rise on the 5 and a 8-beat fall on the 1, but the last 3.5 beats of the 1 are used for the pickup that leads into the next 5. So it is still 8 beats, but it's split, and so the very beginning also splits, takes over the last 3.5 beats from the end, which is tacked on to the beginning as the pickup, a lead-in. You've heard those before, like happy birthday. The happy is a lead-in. For he's a jolly good fellow. The for is a lead-in. That's only a 1-note lead-in. Happy birthday is a 2-note lead-in. This is a 7, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7-note lead-in, which is probably one of the most complex lead-ins that I've come across. But anyway, so you would count that when you're counting in, it would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and then you'd start on the and of 5. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Bum 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 bum. Now there's other ways to count this. Instead of counting to 8, you could count to 4 twice. It's kind of arbitrary. There's all kinds of ways to count, but I've just put one option here. And there's going to be another tune that I'm going to put up here. Actually, there's going to be a bunch more eventually, but some of them might wait till next session. But there's going to be at least at least one more, and maybe a couple more for the 5-to-1 progression. But you can start on this, and that's what I've got so far. There's going to be videos that show me playing along with this, and there's going to be a little more stuff added to here. Oh, and the loops to practice too. But this is what I've got so far, and there's no reason why you can't start working on that while I'm continuing to work on the material. Okay, that's what I wanted to share with you tonight, and I'll see you next week. Good night.